wants us to come over too. She's declared us as her adopted parents. So we always get birthdays and that. And I guess the reason I'm telling you this is that we live in such a global world anymore that a simple 14 hours will get you to Rome. And when you're over there, it was $40 to hop and go from country to country. So Dario, that came from Madrid, Spain, he literally, one weekend, him and 4 guys got on a plane and they landed in each country in their area, did their little jingle that was really popular on TikTok and that about 6 years ago, and it's been really fun. So I love to be able to explore new cultural and enjoy what the other side of the world has to offer. I will tell you, however, I think they really do not like Americans because they think we're very, very spoiled with our big vehicles. But I don't think those that are Italian like the French. They don't like the French more than they like us. So we might be here, but the French is clear down here because I'm telling you, we have a leader that would really, every time he ran into a French, he would degrade them. So, so I guess what I'm saying, I have condensed all my pictures from 896 pictures down to just a few. But growing up in Crawford, here's my problem. When I was in grade school, they actually did away with phonics. So that was one of the worst things that ever happened, and we went to that sight reading. And so my enunciation of things is probably not correct, so I hate to butcher the words, but I have just, it's been 2 years. We went to Rome, Athens, and Crete in 2022. So it's a whole different world out there. I have brought you real homemade bagels for you to try. And they mix their bagels with a little bit of honey. And so it's really good. I did have 1,000-year-old tea that I wanted to bring, but I think I must have cleaned it out and threw it away because that's 2 years old. And then Crete is just a beautiful, beautiful country. And what you see over there are arts, but it's what they pick up off the ground, which is really pretty cool. So, any questions before we get started? Anybody recognize what that is?
Colosseum.
The Colosseum. I mean, if anything takes your breath away, it will be the Colosseum. So, all right. So, okay, I think we're ready. So, before you even get to Rome, you drive through the country, and Santa Maria del Gallery, it's a hidden gem. I mean, look at the clover that they have there, and we have clover in abundance, and the waterfalls and that. And so, if I ever go back, it's not going to go to Rome. It's going to go look for the different countries and the wine venues out there because it's just beautiful, beautiful country. So this is what we actually saw before we even got into the city of Rome. And we actually stayed in a villa, and it was about 25 minutes away from Rome. So every night we went back. So you're talking about all of these places in 10 days. So your mind just gets over inundated with where everything is. Okay, so go ahead to the next page. So the very first thing we saw was the Santa Apostoli. So this is actually where St. James and St. Philip, the disciples, were actually buried within this area. So it is actually the parish and the tubular, which is actually the ruler in that area. So Abbasia, there's only 4 major ones, and they are all located in Rome, but there's 132 minor ballisias throughout the world, which I found that quite interesting in that part. in order to be a Valencia, you actually have to put an application into the Vatican and have the Pope approve it.
Are you a Catholic?
I am not Catholic, I'm Lutheran. So yeah.
And is it obvious, or is it, do you, in your time with that culture, is it that society Catholic or just?
Oh, yes.
Oh, they are Catholic?
Oh, yeah. Yes, very much so. Yeah. To the point where you would not, it's all Catholic. For example, I quit drinking water with ice because it was like, you Americans use ice on everything. It changes the flavor of your drinks. And they're right, you know. So I no longer do the ice. So this is the very first place we started. So we landed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after flying all night, and we went for a walk for 14,000 steps that day. So we averaged 24,000 steps a day. So we walked a lot. But as you can see, the cobblestones that are still there, these are, beginning. It's just amazing when you get to see that. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so then we move on to the Vatican City, and it truly, you have to click on those, yeah. So the first thing we got to hear was this guy right here, and then over around the corner here was a gentleman that was actually playing, and they were doing the changing of the guards. And the hair on the back of my neck stands up because it is such a beautiful, beautiful presentation that they give you as you're watching this whole thing. So then there's some more parts. So we'll go ahead and move forward. Yeah. So we're in the square right now, and you can tell how mammoth all of these buildings are just by looking where the people are. They are just absolutely beautiful as you go through this process. I mean, look at the people down here, how small they are according to the architect up here.
Now, what is that supposed to represent?
Well, so this is actually representing like the birds, and then I can't answer that right now.
Okay.
I think it's an acorn.
Well, yeah, but so the olive tree, so well, I'll get to that. So yeah, so actually after this we actually go inside the buildings, and so now we're inside of the buildings. And where you see this is all gold inlay, and so it's just well, you can see I think 25 million people go through this in a year. That's how many people.
And this
go.
is the Vatican.
This is the Vatican, and now you're inside. So you have to go through the Vatican before you actually enter into the 16th chapel. So as you can see, how this is 50, 340. So it's very, very old. And as you can tell, you see many, many naked statues throughout Europe, and it's no big deal. However, go ahead and go to the next one. The ceilings are just absolutely beautiful. And no, Michelangelo isn't doing this one. We're still in the Vatican part of the building. That part. Okay, continue on with those. I mean, you just, when you walk through these doors, you're just in awe because you don't know which place or area to look at because it's so full of so much rich history that it just truly overwhelms you. So the last place, and we'll go to the next slide, before you enter the 16th chapel is the tapestry wall. And that tapestry wall is 245 feet long. And Raphael did every single one of these. So as you can see, here's Jesus actually doing the, when he's up on, throwing out those that are bartering, making his,
In the temple.
yeah, in the temple. Thank you very much. So yeah, but that should go in one on each. Does that not play? Because it should play, so they can see all of that. Maybe we can do that by hand.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, the Pope Urban the VIII actually was the one that had all these tapestries made. And like I say, you just walk forever going through this tunnel looking at the tapestries, and that is just absolutely beautiful.
Kathy,
Yeah.
are these Michelangelo?
Nope,
Oh,
nope,
no?
nope, nope. This is Raphael. So we haven't got to, so Raphael actually helped do some of the paintings with Michelangelo.
Yeah.
And so Michelangelo actually, he started with sculpture. So he actually would go in and study dead bodies and recreate that and do the drawings in pencil. And that's why his paintings and drawings on plaster is so impressive, because he literally, you can see the muscles that he puts in, and so he was obsessed with the human body, and that's why everything is so perfect with him. But this is actually Raphael, and so Raphael does help in the Sistine Chapel when you get to that. So I think we're getting pretty close. So St. Peter's Balassia, below this door is actually where St. Peter's is buried. He's actually buried underneath the dome. Now, to tell you how high this is, the Empire State Building can fit underneath that. That's how tall that is. So it's just huge on that. And I really didn't have a whole picture of that, so I got this one off the internet, because as you can see with the next one, it's so mammoth. When you're there, you can't back up and take a full picture of St. Peter's Balassia. So it is actually the largest Balassia in the world. I think I have in my notes. Yes, it is 750 feet long by 490 feet wide, and it was built by in 1626. So that's when it opened. And so most of the popes live up here, but Pope Francis actually is so humble that he lives down here. So he lives in the bottom half, and so they really respect him, because he's very humble. So you never say anything bad about Pope Francis because they absolutely love him over there. All right, so now we get to the Sistine Chapel. So there's a joke that goes around, and they will even tell you the joke, because everybody calls it the 16th chapel instead of the, so they say, what happened to the first 15, right? So that's kind of fun to listen to. So, but the Sistine Chapel is where Michelangelo begins his artwork, and how he is asked to actually work on the chapel, because there was, oh, I can't tell you all the things that happened. The first guy, something happened, and the next guy was supposed to do it, and he got sick, and then the other guy died. And so Michelangelo actually was the first, did the ceiling. So the book of Genesis is on the ceiling, so it's just absolutely beautiful. So, yeah. So this is actually when you're in St. Peter's Square. So you can see all the people. It was really, really nice, because with our tour guide, we avoided all these people, and we just walked right down there, walked right in, and it's just amazing how huge the St. Peter's Square is on that. So this is the ceiling of the 16th chapel, and it is all inlaid with gold. So it's just absolutely beautiful. So it depicts all the stories from Genesis. So with Noah and the flood, with the creating of the first life, it's just totally mind-boggling. So if you think about painting, how many of you have done a lot of painting?
Just a little.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. So if you were painting this, it's painted on wet plaster. So you may have only worked this area for a full day. So they could only paint as long as the plaster was wet. And it's called fresco. And so it's not like the paint we use today. It's pretty, pretty technique. And there were 6 different creators that worked with Michelangelo doing the ceiling. Okay. So, and I just wanted to give you a close-up of how detailed all of this is. And of course, these curve, and so if you read anything about Michelangelo, he didn't want to do this because it actually took him 4 years to do all these paintings up there. And so I don't know if you've ever seen The Last Judgment, but this is actually The Last Judgment. And so there's actually 300 people in The Last Judgment that he created. Now this is right behind the pulpit of the Sistine Chapel. And usually you look at this when you go out, but this actually, I can't imagine even listening to anybody give their sermon because there's so much detail in there. So if you actually would go walk through the front door of the 16th Chapel and look at every item for 1 minute, it would take you 12 years to digest everything that is in just that chapel. So that's how much work there is in. So this is probably one of his most controversial works that are out there. And believe it or not, each one of these guys that have a cloth on were actually naked. So the Pope actually went into hiding because they were actually going to destroy that. And then Constantine, he said, no, we're not destroying anything. He said, we will cover up the human parts that are not, should not be visible to the eye. So as you can see, we've got cloth here, fig leaf, and all of this here. So on this side is all of the judgment of those who are going to hell. And on this side, it is your angels and that lifting people up to the heavens. Up here you have Jesus on the cross. This is Jesus and mankind. This is Mother Mary. His first rendition actually had Mary with her arms out like this and wanted to be the, intermediate between hell and heaven. And then he made it into being submissive under what Jesus just chose, that you follow his rules. So this I had to bring home because it was just beautiful. I mean, the colors were just fantastic when you actually looked at that, and to know it's right behind the pulpit, it just kind of blows my mind.
Is this on the ceiling?
No. On the ceiling is all the ones of the Old Testament. This is right behind the pulpit. So when you walk in the door, it takes up that whole wall. And
How high is the ceiling above the floor?
at like 22 meters. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it is. They go by meters up there. It's huge. And like I said, you can't take your eyes off of it. And as you can see with all my people down here, it just goes on forever. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 hallways that you still have to walk through. So it's just absolutely beautiful. But everything that is depicted in there is all about humanity and right and wrong, and depicts the Bible. Oh, and then how can you not, the Colosseum, I learned so much about the Colosseum. I don't know why that's not building in. Did you hit play? Because I built those in. But I don't know, maybe it didn't save right. So I could talk. Okay. So the Colosseum was made out of all marble. And what happened is the different layers, and I'll show you that. But what happened when Rome was overtaken, they started taking apart the marbles and the stones from the quarry, because it was 5 or 6 miles to the quarry, and it was cheaper to take and rebuild from the Colosseum in that. And it's just beautiful. I cannot tell you how beautiful it is. Next slide. I did include quite a few of these slides because I just cannot believe, the tunnels. So how many of you knew that they actually had awnings over the Colosseum? It took 1,000 soldiers to hold up all of these.
Oh.
So that, I mean, I didn't even know they ever had the awnings.
A word from history are the catacombs.
Yes,
Are they in the Colosseum or are they in the Vatican?
they're in the Vatican.
Catacombs.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So each of these entryways, you had like a ticket. So depending on what status you were in is what place you would enter in there. And then the closer you were your higher your status. So if you were a peon, you'd be clear at the top. But if you were I don't know, high in the hierarchy, you would be clear down here. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. But it just, I mean, you can just see all of these areas there. So there's a big placard there that said how many animals were killed. You know, like 536 tigers were killed, you know, so many mountain lions and that, but an unknown amount of gladiators. So there was more prestige on the animals because it cost so much to bring all these animals in for the gladiators, and they're fighting, and a gladiator had no
No value?
no value is probably the easiest
Isn't
way
it
to
funny?
say that. Yeah.
A country that's so Catholic and got this moral foundation,
Yeah.
and this is the same place that they fed them to the lions.
Yeah. Well, the next one actually.
Kind of a downhill slope there.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see, yeah. So this is the inside of it, and this is where all the animals would come up, and do, so the wood is displayed, and so you can't see that. But you can see every one of these arches that you walk under, how detailed they were in those times, and of course the columns and that. But let's go, can you click back to one of those and just pause it, I think?
I don't
Yeah.
know if it'll pause.
Okay, so, yeah, but you could actually go down inside here and see all the different things. So you would have a lever, and then the lions would come up, or the tigers or whatever, and have it in there with the Colosseum. But like I said, gladiators had no human value, and so, I mean, it's a big article that tells you 100 days how many animals were killed, but no mention there for the people at all there. So, now, just a couple pictures of Rome Ripa. So now we're talking about Marcus. Circus Maximum. So if we go to the next place, this is where all the chariot races were over there. And so it's just one of those things, even though it was just designed for chariot races, you actually had gladiators going in there and also fighting and the wild animal hunts and everything, and a lot of athletic events happened in the Circus Maximus. So very prestigious place there.
Where is this in relation to the Colosseum? Is it right here?
It is, well, no, it's on the edge of town. I mean, clear out there. So the Colosseum is like right downtown, and so everything is built around the Colosseum. And the Colosseum actually had not 2 layers, but 4 layers. And so you only see the 2 layers because they took all the other stone to build the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican and that. It was so much cheaper to do it that way. So you don't see the original part.
How does one get to be a gladiator?
Well, I don't know.
Weren't they prisoners?
They were prisoners, yes. For the most part, they were. But as a gladiator, the good thing was you were fed and you were taken care of. And so a gladiator was actually prestigious in those days because they were well cared for, because that's how you made your money, is if the gladiators won. That's what happened, yeah.
Pro sports.
Where is your favorite place that you've been so far?
I would say Crete, because I'll show you the beautiful pictures of Crete. The water is just amazing. Okay, there you go. All right. So next one. Just a couple more details of all the architect that goes on. I mean, they are huge out here. I can't believe this state. I worked on this building out all morning long. It just makes me so mad because it is beautiful work. Why don't you just stop it and let's just pull that apart so they can actually see those pictures. Yeah. Just pull them apart because, yeah. Yeah. So they actually, yeah, just pull it over there so they can, yeah. So you can see how tall those are. And so the Roman Forum was actually used for public meeting places, and that was the first democratic democracy we ever had with Augusta, Caesar, and that. So it's, but look how big these are. Every one of these is just life size. So it's pretty awesome. Just some more pictures. So many of these they've dug down and done the digging, the archaeology, and dug down these. This was actually dug down 20 feet. He didn't notice it wasn't there until he told me that.
How old were you when you started traveling?
I was 19, 21 actually. Okay. Good question.
When,
Go ahead.
if any of those city environments were in Seattle or Los Angeles, or anywhere in the United States, you would have homeless people everywhere in any of those environments. Are there homeless people on the streets here?
So when we actually got to Greece, in Athens, the answer was yes. And
Rome.
yeah, but I did not see them in any parts of Rome at all. So
Obviously,
that,
they're not there.
Yep, they have to be out there.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, the
Yeah.
authorities don't let them.
Yeah, no, because that takes away,
Yeah.
you know, the money that comes into the government. So yeah.
Yeah, but kind of off the track.
No, yeah, no, yeah. So then we went to one of the open squares, so that would be the next, maybe the one after that. Oh, the Plaza del Rey. Yeah. You know, they start running together because they're so mammoth and so large, and of course you have all different sculptures doing this, and so the next one.
Imagine getting as horses up on there without the equipment that we have today.
Oh, so the squares actually, so there's a, at the Plaza, there's actually 4 famous fountains there, and they go right next to the Tiger River, and the Trivia Fountain and the Fountain of Neptune are huge, but this one actually is the largest one in Rome. So the next picture is really kind of gives you the color in the Metropolis Square.
But don't forget the
So across over here, there's one of these that Michelangelo did, and then there's one that he did of Bernini, and Bernini's like this, and the other guy is like this, trying to squelch him and say, you aren't worth your artistic value. And so that's kind of a whole story in itself, which is pretty cool. And then the more fountains. So yeah, 20 meters wide and 26 meters high. And you can just tell how tall these people are. I mean, they're just huge. But that's one of the largest fountains there is. And it's like all around you. I mean, there's just, where do you look? It's just beautiful. And I think I have one more picture just to show you how outstanding it is. And another picture of St. Peter's Square. It's just, the cars were some of the things the kids could not believe how big their license plate were and where they would park their cars. I mean, they would park them anywhere. It's just, I mean, if we did that in the United States, oh my gosh. So, but yeah, but that's where St. Peter is. Just beautiful artwork. And let's go, yeah, let's skip that and come back if they have any questions on that. I wanted to add some links in case you had questions that I couldn't answer. So.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Is this a good time? Yes.
Sure.
So are there, and this is for everyone. Is there a modern movie or even an old movie that Rome is, I mean, I know there's Ben-Hur and, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, there might be some story about Michelangelo, but are there any movies set that we remember or see in Rome?
There's the film adaptation of Dan Brown's, oh man, it's not, or like some of the Da Vinci Code, and then there's a couple of sequels, like there's the one.
Angels and Demons, those are good.
Yeah.
That's one,
They're
Angels
good.
and Demons.
Yeah.
They're good. They're a little untraditional.
Untraditional, certainly.
Right.
Where is Breakfast at Tiffany's?
That's New York. Should be.
Test-
Tiffany's is in New York.
Is it
isn't
New York?
You might be thinking Roman holiday.
Yeah.
I've
Well, no, I
seen
don't. I need a little help. I don't know anything in context Rome. Other than Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston plays Michelangelo.
Yeah.
I can't remember the.
Yeah, I can't remember the name
name
of
of
that
those
either.
movies.
Yeah.
But there's the greatest line in all theater. It's the Pope goes out into the Sistine Chapel, and he looks up at
Yeah.
Mike up on
Yeah.
the scaffolding and says, "When will you finish?"
When will you be finished? Yeah.
Right, and Mike rolls over and says, "When I am done."
Yeah.
Well, there is a gentleman out there that's trying to say that this is Michelangelo. That is him because he did a still drawing, and there's like a whole letter about how he hates doing this, like, doing that. And so he used the old pictures and then went from him to his drawing to this, and so he thinks he can tie them all together, which is kind of interesting in itself. So that was our 3 days in Rome, and like I said, you just go boom, 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 boom. But the nice thing about it is we had, when we went to the Sistine Chapel or the Vatican City or everything, they had a specialist with us, and we got to hear, you had to have headphones so you could listen, because there's so many people there. And so they could tell you more detail of everything. But, 2 years ago, it's like, yeah, I can't remember. But look, I mean, just the walls, the chapels. I think there's like 8 chapels in here where you can go in and sit down and be in awe of the environment that you are in. So then, we moved on. Yeah, that's just if they have questions. So then we moved to Pompeii, and oh my gosh, Pompeii, it's just one of my favorite stops of all times, because you actually, they actually had one of these digging out, and then they started excavating all of these, and these are over 28 feet tall, and they just keep digging and finding stuff in Pompeii. So it was in 79 when Mount Versailles actually blew up and covered everybody in ash, and so everything was like prestige. So you can actually see, the horse that actually was there, and the body. This was a whole 2 people, and this is a whole family that were just embalmed in the ashes, with the blanket of ashes when it exploded. And this is where we had the Italian walking, and of course you walk forever, and these French people wanted to cut in front of us, and he just came unglued. Just really came unglued. So it was.
God bless Europe.
yeah. Okay, so then I just gave you a couple more pictures of Pompeii. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then the stadium. This is the only stadium in the world that is made out of all marble. And it was actually the first Olympic trials or games were held here. And it's the only stadium where they have had 3 Olympic games held in that. And it's just, massive. I tried to put this and this and this so you could see how massive the stadium is. But millions of people come and visit and just walk through this area because it's so mammoth.
Do you have currency to spend while if you go to a knick-knack or a souvenir shop, do you have currency to spend as a tourist?
You actually, before you go over, you exchange your money at the
right,
banks.
And the currency in Italy is?
Ours is not very devalued compared to theirs.
Okay. What name is their currency?
Euros.
It's the euro, not the lira. It's a euro. Okay.
Yeah, that's all we spent over there. Good question. Yeah. So this stadium is 2,300 years old. So it was built in 1896. So it's still complete, which is amazing when they started tearing down so many walls. Yeah.
Are you going to travel to any of them again?
Are there what?
Are you going to travel to any of them again?
I gotta go to Alaska and Hawaii yet. Okay, and then we're back to Athens has a Cnipia Square in the church, so you're just downtown and your eyes are just everywhere. So you go ahead and move on. So the Acropolis Museum just has all these ancient, like I said, 896 pictures, just like, this is their bathing, so they actually would go in their hot springs and they would bathe in there. It's just kind of amazing.
Do you as a tourist, do you have to pay to get in the museum, or does your
Yeah.
tour pay for it?
Well, it was within our
Tour.
tour package, yes, very much so, yeah. Okay, so the Acropolis of Athens was clear back in 1500, and it was actually, they say this is actually the olive tree is still alive from Jesus, so I don't know. I mean, that's what she told us, which is kind of amazing to think that there's a tree that old. But, the olive trees are very well known over there.
I think I heard that for those columns, the architects were so thoughtful as to how it would look upon entry that they actually warped some of the lines so that they would appear straight. Did you hear anything about
Yes,
that?
yeah, and you can see that they're put in sections in order to do that, yeah, and so how they're staggered on that, yes. But I think this is the only complete ancient Greek monument standing today. What?
Socrates, Plato, who's the other guy?
Yeah.
There's the third one, the three famous.
No, I can't remember.
So Romeus and Remus are the two goddesses that were fighting, and they were the first ones. I literally had to go buy a book to teach me all about the different gods. I mean, who Zeus was, Apollo. I mean, because they just throw them at you like you know them, and it's like, no, I don't know them. So I literally had to buy the book to figure out who they were talking about and how it all played in to their history. So I had to put these pictures in because when I did this presentation for the church, of course I did the first miracle of Jesus. So what's our first miracle of Jesus?
Water into wine.
Yeah, so this vase
With the Catholic
is
side.
like here. I mean, it's huge. And so for Jesus to fill 6 of those, I mean, it's like, I cannot believe, those 120 gallons, but they come in all different sizes, and I think that's why they say in the Bible it would hold, 20 gallons or 30 gallons, and depending on how, how big. So yeah. So when I did this presentation for the church, it was all centered around the first miracle of
Some of
Jesus.
the pottery is very delicate then.
Oh, yeah. But I can't imagine even lifting that when it's full
Yeah.
on that. So yeah. But I think those are actually one of my favorites, just to see the pottery that is there. So how many of you have actually been to the land of the Ozarks? Have you been there? Did you go to the play down there?
I did not.
So they actually, what is it? The Passion Play is down in the land of the Ozarks, and it's an amphitheater, and it's outside. And so Jesus flies up to heaven at the end. But if you go to the museum, they have Bibles in there that are thousands and thousands of years old. And I actually, one played Joseph, and I bought a pottery. I should have brought it down. And you could see him make it, and then he would write his name in it, and then they give it to you. It's just beautiful on that part. So
Could you touch those old Bibles?
no, oh no.
They're all under glass?
Yeah. So as you can see, all these ruins are like right in town. It just kind of blows your mind how they have, the city has grown around all the ruins. So you have the Apollo, or this is Alethea, and this is the Apollo. So it's just kind of one of those crazy things that is like, why? you don't know what goes through their mind when they do that. Okay. So this Theos is, this actually is the center of the world. So that's what this cone represents, is where the center of the earth is. So, and that's where they say it is. And you have to walk and walk and walk. So I will tell you, this day we did 28,000 steps on this day. And at my age, I was very proud of myself because I and my daughter, the young kids that were 18, 19, and 20, would not climb the mountain. It just blew my mind. But go to the next page and you'll see what they missed. I mean, look at all of this beautiful stuff. I mean, if you didn't climb it, you would not be able to see them.
Huh.
Yeah, and I think there's the next page, actually talks about, so this is the very first, they say, the stadium, 5th century before Christ. So they actually, I mean, when you get up to the top, you get to see this whole layout. And that was their first gladiators, where they actually started there. And they did the racetrack and all the events. And they would line you up down here and they would tell you to race, and you had that flag down there. So it was like the very beginning of the Olympics was started at the stadium there, and just rich in history. And then you have Delphi. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful country there. And this would actually hold 250,000 spectators. So, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, we think of Lincoln and the 85,000 it holds for a football game, and then you think 250,000. That's a lot of bodies to hold. So. Yeah, so this is absolutely beautiful. This is our last day before we head over to Greece. So I will tell you a story. So it's 11 o'clock at night, and we've done 24,000 steps, and my daughter and granddaughter who graduated are still wanting to, experience downtown life. And I'm going, I can't. My feet are dead. I'm going to go home. Well, we only had one phone that we paid to be able to, call home, and that happened to be her phone. So it was like, Mom, you know your way? Sure, I'm just going to walk down to the pier, and I know I can walk over the pier, and there's a place. Okay, so here I am, walking, trying to find the motel room, and everything's closing, and nobody speaks English. Nobody speaks English at all. So I'm asking these people where my motel is, and they can't answer me. And so there's this gal sitting, and she's just resting with the dog, and I go up and I say, can you tell me where, I can't remember what her motel name was. And she said, I'm just an internship. I don't know where it is. But she can speak Italian. And so she asked another lady where my motel room was, and she said, I will take you there. And here I am. I mean, it's 11 o'clock at night. I can't speak. And I'm going, what do I have to lose? So she took me right to the motel, and I tried to pay her, and she said, no, you pay it forward. Well, to tell you the truth, guess who walked in right before I did? My daughter and my granddaughter were just like steps in front of me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So, that feeling of not being able to talk besides English is just, and your phone, you don't use your phone because you don't have the translator on it. So we were like here, and I remember this pier, and then you could actually walk on this pier, and then if you walked off the pier, you got to the motel room. Well, it's like 8 miles to get to this pier. So, by the grace of God, they took good care of me, because I was totally lost. So yes. Okay. So we're at the palace. now we are actually in Crete. So this is a famous palace that was back in the Bronze Age. And it was one of the first civilizations in Crete. So we were actually supposed to do a cruise of Crete, but because of COVID and that, they still had not opened up the boats or anything. So we got to do all these tours on the inland. And this is where the lady told me that you Americans don't know how to drink because you use too much ice and it changes everything. So it's kind of cool. So the next picture shows you just a lot of the beauty of the images. So this guy actually is making baklava, and see how big he makes it? And I mean, it stretches all the way across. He's 72 years old and still does all the work by himself. But it was interesting. He would, every time he would blow that up, I mean, it would just get bigger and bigger and bigger until it was like paper thin. And it was so nice to be able to see that. But he could not speak English, so the translator was there. So, sing along. This truly, we actually got to go out to this island. This island had leprosy there. So from 1904 to 1957, if you had leprosy, you were placed on this island. So over 250 people actually lived down there. There were 2 churches and 25 stores. So if you had money, you could go visit a family member that had leprosy, but they could not leave the island. And it still blows my mind that we still had this in use in 1957. And so they actually, this island actually was the reason they found a cure in what was causing leprosy, because some of the children that were born there did not have leprosy. So that was kind of an interesting story on that. But I think the next couple of pages actually take you into some of the places. See the beautiful water there? It's just gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful island. But you're, look how just one person is on top of that. And they actually, you would have a guard making sure that you did not escape if you had leprosy. You were to remain on that island. So you actually could still make a living on that. But you can see the houses and, you know, the walkways and what it looked like inside. So it wasn't third world at all. Okay. And then the nightlife there is just amazing. It's just, you know, you see on Facebook nowadays, instead of, you know, how cool it is, cooler it is on the main streets if you had greenery versus, you know, masonry. So it really is pretty cool. And then my last picture is we're just so rich with history. It's just absolutely beautiful. So this was my last night there, and I think there's a sunset. Is there a sunset that goes with that? Yeah, that was our sunset.
Oh, gee, yeah.
So,
I imagine it was a lot brighter pink. And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, a picture never ever just like the sunsets. I have beautiful sunsets, but a picture never does it justice at all. So Crete is where I spent most of my money. So all my family received gifts from Crete. So they would actually pick these up from the water and the stones, and everybody got a fish from here. So that is one of the things that is really pretty cool. So the driftwood and everything is being reused by artists and that. So just a beautiful, so now you know why I'm trying to figure out what to share with you in that, because there's so much rich history over there that it just all comes together. So I'm going to open up these and let you try these. So there's the everything bagels. There is onion and bagels, and then sesame seed bagels. This one is just the plain Philadelphia cream cheese. And this is Philadelphia cream cheese with honey. So how many of you have had yogurt? So the food over there is just totally different. So your breakfast has cheeses and meats. I mean, like not the ham we eat, salami. It's all meat and cheese and breads over there. That's what your breakfast is. You don't see bacon and eggs and that kind of stuff that we have here. But if you've never had honey in your yogurt, you won't go back to not having honey with your yogurt. It is really, really good. So they will also tell you that Americans' processed food is not healthy for you at all. And that's why we're so overweight and unhealthy. And I'm going, how can we, I mean, they eat breads all the time, but it's not the flour is not refined. So the bread that or the bagels, if you want to try it, is a different flour, and it's a sweet flour. And I order it off of Amazon because we actually went to an Italian place and we made spaghetti on our own. And the spaghetti over there doesn't taste like the spaghetti here. So I did get a spaghetti maker, and now I ordered my flour online and make my own lasagna noodles and my own spaghetti because it's a whole different taste and flavor. And I think you'll notice the different sweetness of this if you want to try it.
What American airport did you leave the country on from? New York or Denver, and what did you land in Rome and fly back out?
Yeah. So there were 26 of us that were on this tour, and 40 in the whole. So it was educational tours, so it's called EF tours, and so it was 40 people total, and 26 came from Chadron. And so half of us flew out of Rapid. Well, all of us flew out of Rapid, but half of us went from Rapid to Minneapolis to New York. Some went from Rapid City to Dallas into New York. So it was just depending on, they couldn't get us all on one airline.
But you left the country from New York.
I left the country from New York.
Did you stop in Heathrow and then down just all the way to
We
Rome?
went straight to Rome and landed in Rome. And we didn't even, we went straight to the squares, and started walking. And they said, your jet lag is better if you just keep going versus going and resting. And so from there, we took a 4.5 hour, I think it was only 4.5 hours flight to Greece. And then it was about 2 hours to Crete. So, but we actually, when we were in Crete, we traveled one whole island, and I think it's made up of like 100 little islands there. So that's why we wanted to do the boat tour, so you could see all these unique islands and that. So, good question. Any other questions?
Crete's a part of Greece, is that right?
It's its own country. Yeah, the lady that would talk to you said we were never a part of Greece, but when they became their own entity, so yeah.
Was that fairly recent?
I can't remember what she told me, but it was like fairly recent compared to 400 or 500,
No.
I did walk, so one of the ladies said, this is for Christ Walk, and so you could see the cobblestone, and it was one of the oldest formations and streets in the world. And
But
and
the
then
time period, was Crete the earliest? Crete, Athens, Rome, Athens before Rome.
right.
Where's Crete then?
Towards the end of that, because so I can't tell you. I really don't know anything. I can't answer that. But because of its ruggedness, it was relatively new. Because from my understanding, it was mostly used for smugglers and for people at that age, so you were a pirate if you were in that area. But because of its beauty is when they started, because it is beautiful. If I wanted to go back anywhere, I would want to go back to Crete. That's how beautiful that area. I mean, it's because it's so, I don't know if you want to say mellow, but it's so laid back that, I mean, it's not touristy, and so you can actually just enjoy yourself because of the beauty there. I mean, I would, I mean, not that I wouldn't want to go back to Rome just to put it all back into perspective, but Crete would be my favorite place to go because of its beauty in the countryside. So, I know it's been a long hour, but if you want to even take a half a bagel and try it, and I did have a 1,000-year-old recipe for tea, because they do the same thing as in British. They actually have an afternoon tea. They finish their lunch with an espresso, and if you ask for coffee, you won't get coffee. Americana coffee is not our coffee, and it's an espresso, and it is very heavy if you know what an espresso is. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. I know the tea, they have, chamomile is their favorite tea, in Italy, and so that is one of my favorite teas too, but, Earl Grey is next to it. I love Earl Grey. So, all